Tonight, one of the biggest unions in media is calling for an investigation into the stunning cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The Writers Guild of America, which represents the writers on Colbert's show, says it has, quote, significant concerns that The Late Show's cancellation is a bribe. This comes as Skydance CEO David Ellison is seeking the Trump administration's approval of his merger with CBS's parent company, Paramount. And the Guild tonight is calling on the AG here in New York, Letitia James, to launch an investigation into potential wrongdoing at Paramount. In a statement, CBS maintained that the cancellation is a purely financial decision. And all this is coming as a new filing today revealed that David Ellison met with the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, earlier this week. Skydance said the meeting, quote, emphasized the public interest benefits of the proposed acquisition of Paramount Global. My sources tonight are CNN's Michael Smerconish and former Deputy Assistant to President Biden, Jamal Simmons. It's great to have you both here. Smerconish, when you read that they're saying it's purely financial decision, if you look into the numbers, there is data that shows ad revenue for network late night shows shrunk about 50% from 2018. It used to be 439 million. Now it's 220. That's the reality of what is happening to the business. But I wonder what you make of their claims in this moment.
He's a really funny guy. I did the Colbert Report once, and I remember he came into the green room before we started, and he said one thing: remember, I'm the funny man, so you don't have to try. And I thought, okay, that sets the stage, because I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to say something humorous. Listen, in May, according to Nielsen, the people who do all the television ratings, for the first time, streaming surpassed the combination of cable and broadcast television. So it's a troublesome environment for us all, dare I say. So I think that there's a financial argument as to why they wanted to do this, and there's a political argument as well, because they were able to detach themselves, or they will when he finishes, from a liability in the eyes of President Trump. So from that perspective, probably win-win for the parent. I'm sorry to see it happen.
Yeah, and they have made, it's been so clear that they are trying to get a very lucrative merger done. We've known that has been the background of all of this. Stephen Colbert actually criticized the settlement that happened as a part of this with the CBS editing of the Kamala Harris interview. And I want to listen to what Colbert said about that.
Now, I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe. Because this all comes as Paramount's owners are trying to get the Trump administration to approve the sale of our network to a new owner, Skydance.
And Trump, of course, responded to his cancellation today, saying he loves that he got fired and he hopes that Jimmy Kimmel is next.
Yeah, you know, Caitlin, I was the Vice President's communications director. I was not there 60 Minutes interview, but I was there for a lot of times when she did interviews. And of course, sometimes people might shave off a second here or like a second there in a question just to kind of make the video work. But I don't think they did anything that was untoward, nothing that's not normal. But so the President of the United States getting this worked up about a CBS interview and CBS cutting this deal with him to like pay this money just doesn't sit well, I think, with a lot of people. Now, when you watch Colbert and he teases, you know, the corporate ownership, it just harkens back to the old days, right? When David Letterman used to do this with GE when he was at NBC, and he would really clown the parent network or the parent company all the time as part of the shtick. It just seems like in normal times, this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but something about this moment just makes it feel fishy because they've got this merger that's in the works.
I agree with that. I think it's a combination of being a burr in the saddle of President Trump and him not taking well to that. I also think there's such fragmentation in the marketplace because you no longer need to tune in and watch Colbert if you want comedy. You could go to Netflix, I do, and watch any number of specials. SiriusXM's got a half dozen channels. And of course, there are any number of podcasts. So it's a whole new environment is what I'm trying to say. And there are political consequences.
Yeah. I want to talk about something else that's been going on with the White House today. The Trump administration has completed a large-scale prisoner swap with Venezuela. It's 250 Venezuelans who had been deported from the United States. They're now going home. We saw these pictures today of all remaining American hostages who are being held in Venezuela that have been released, with the State Department showing 10 of them on board a plane. I actually just sat down with a special envoy for hostages for the Trump administration, Adam Bowler, yesterday when we were at this conference in Colorado. This is what he said about how the president's approach to hostages has worked.
When we decided to make a move and the president decided to move on Iran, for me, getting Americans out, that's going to get Americans out. Because what do I need to say? You don't want to listen to the president. One of his core platforms is getting Americans out. Look what happens. And so it's so important to have that credibility. And that kind of credibility doesn't bring Americans home. It makes people think twice before they take them. I spoke with the president of a country this morning.
I guess that country we've now learned when it comes to what that was. But I wonder what you made of his answer there in terms of the credibility he has going into negotiations on something so sensitive.
Yeah, look, I think anytime Americans come home, we should all be celebrating. It's a good day for the country. So I'm not going to begrudge the president for cutting a deal. I am, though, particularly curious because the president made a lot of noise earlier in the year that he couldn't actually do anything about the prisoners that he had sent to El Salvador, that those guys were there and there was nothing that he could do to get them moved anywhere else. So I'm just a little curious as to how they were able to pull this off in a country where the president didn't seem like he had any influence.
So there's that. That was the comments, I think, made to Judge Boasberg. There's also the issue of they're quote-unquote terrorists. I'm thinking to myself, if they're such bad individuals, why would Venezuela be willing to take them back? It's a win for President Trump because 250 people that he didn't want here are gone. 10 Americans now come home. But there's something else. I think maybe the president hopes he can avoid further litigation on the Alien Enemies Act, which was always thin ground. He perhaps hopes that that discussion goes away.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jamal Simmons, Michael Smerconish, so great to have you here in person with us. And be sure to watch Michael's show, Smerconish, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern here on CNN. Don't miss it.